Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Here we are with another video on RPG API Core. Before we start, one thing I wanted to mention is that we didn't want the current graph name to be shown in workview. Honestly, the current graph has a related graph, and that related graph has a graph name, if you remember. Okay, and that's the graph name. So why not just showing that inside our workview? So workview, this is the change you need to make. And one thing more about our toolbar. If I now come here, well, I don't have any graph loaded. Why should I see these buttons? I shouldn't. Because if the graph is not loaded, then unload graph, clear graph, delete graph, tick graph, refresh, reset graph, these has no meanings. So what I can do before this separator and unload graph, I say if current graph equals to null, then simply return. Okay? And if I build it now and come back and let it recompile the code, you will see that it gets there, but you are pushing more GUI clips than you are popping. Make sure they are balanced. Well, the thing is that at the end, I have this end horizontal and end area. Okay, and I need what did I do? Control C. Need to do them before returning. So that and that. Okay, and I don't need you. So tab, tab, delete, tab, tab. Okay, so if I build it now, it shouldn't yell anything at me. That was the reason it didn't paint there. And you see that there's no errors anymore. And I don't see my buttons on top. Unless I have something. Cool. And when I'm unloading, then they are gone. Cool. Now, next part. Here we are clearing the graph, and here we are delete graph. Oh, okay. So consistency, clear graph, and delete graph. I will start with delete graph because it's really simple. Or yeah, delete the graph. So delete graph says node, sorry, not node. Graph utils dot delete graph. But here I will send something in, and that is current graph dot related graph dot graph name. Okay. Using resharper, I will create that method void string graph name delete, and I will move it on top of my privates. So what is happening in our delete graph? We first say if editor utility dot display dialog, the dialog we want to say delete graph as title, and then are you sure you want to delete current graph from project? It will not be reversible. Buttons, yes and no. So if we hit yes, we say asset database dot delete asset from assets / boss / graph editor / and let's make sure that I'm referring to the correct, yeah, graph editor. Okay, then from resources / database / plus name graph name I said, okay, graph name plus dot asset. Same thing happens from editor / remember space schema. After that we say asset database dot save assets and asset database dot refresh, and that's it. So build, come back, load our graph, and if I hit delete I should get a confirmation, and if I hit yes, not only the graph schema gone, our graph is gone again. So there's no graph anymore. So that's our delete button. So I will say test graph and create. So I have our test graph and test graph schema. Cool. So now time comes for our clearing the graph. Well, clear graph means that I should check if we have any nodes in that, then blah, 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 blah. Okay? And I will leave it for time being because we need to implement the nodes before going any more forward. Now, tick graph and reset the graph. These two are later being used for, I don't know, whatever graph we have. Or like behavior trees, dialog trees, or math tree, they are not being used right now. So clear graph, I will let it go for time being, but something occurred to me. Get singleton property, get singleton field, set singleton property, set singleton field. Names are misleading. When I'm doing set, I'm doing it on a property or a field on a singleton. When I'm doing the get, I'm getting the singleton instance. So I will change its name to get singleton instance. And here I will ask a bool that says, what did I call it? Singleton is property. Okay? And then the binding flags. So instead of this, I will say if singleton is property, then do this part. And derp. Then do this part. And of course, I need to move this guy out. So Control C, delete here, and this should be object. Okay? Else, I will do it like this. And that. Now, instead of property name, I will change it to singleton name. There we go. Now I can get rid of this method. And I will say get singleton instance. And here I need to send in blah, 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 blah. Singleton is property. And that's all I need. So instance equals to that. there. Okay, so singleton is property, and that. Okay, so I can get the singleton, I can set the values on it. Now I want to get the values from it. Okay, so Control C. I will put some space. Control V. And this is, instead of set, I will get. And instead of that, I will get. And that's that. That. And I will return that. Now, why are you yelling at me? Comma. No. And it should become object. And instead of false, we'll return null. And we got our get singleton property. Now we want our get singleton field. We return null, null, or we return this value on the instance. Okay, and this is get value and object. And of course, we don't want this value anymore because we are not using it. No. So now I have two methods to get the values on get the value or property on a singleton. So get singleton property, get singleton field, or setting them. Okay, and I have a method to get the singleton. Why did I do that? Because in future, when we want to, let me stop in the method. We say node util, no, not you, come on. Graph utils dot clear graph. Okay. Put it inside node utils, delete. And I call it node utils because my method on my nodes are node utils. So what we are doing here is this. We get the editor window instance. Then we check if the user really wants to clear the graph. Again, another one of those display dialogues, that is. Then we get the current schema. After that, we get the list of nodes in a schema. And then we say we remove the node from the list. Then we save assets and refresh. Now, for this part, we need to get the instance from reflection. Okay? And for this part, we need to get the field from instance with reflection. And that is why I had to get the field from singleton, and they get the singleton instance. Okay. After that, it's just iterating through them and setting the values. So that's it, actually. So in next episode, I will start with our context menu for creating our nodes, basically. That's something that we have to come to it sooner or later. I prefer sooner than later. So in my notes, I have this. Let me show you, actually. In my work view, this is my work view when it's finished on my notes. Meow. Yeah. Basically, we have all these context menus that are letting us create, load, do the same stuff from that top node. But then you see that I have some nodes that I can create for math, for behavior trees, and those will come later. So yeah, we will implement just this one, just this node and a single add node in this iteration. Okay. So we want a node that has two floats and a node that adds the nodes, and then we will be able to bind them, connect them, break the connections, stuff like that. So, and of course, draw them, move them around, tons of stuff to cover just by these two nodes. So until next episode, have fun everyone. Bye-bye.